What's up guys, Ivan here with GetIvan.com, and in this video we're going to be doing some proxies.com tests between Bing and Google. Ever since the recent proxies.com upgrade, I noticed that I can now scrape from Bing and Google. So I want to do a live case study, a live test, comparing the URLs from Bing and Google in this video. So this is all on the fly. I don't have any sort of process plan, so it might be a little bit slower than usual. Be sure to click the cog in the lower right, speed this up to 1.5x, and let's get going. So we are testing the unlimited rotating IPv6 proxies.com proxies, and they can only access other websites with IPv6 IPs. When I tested them in the past, they could not access Bing or Google, and now they can. So pretty cool. Not sure what happened there. Let's take a look at my environment here, and let's get this test rolling. So I'm going to do this test on restaurants in the top 1,000 cities in the USA by population. Let's start with Google and see how it goes. Oh, actually, I did not load them. My bad. That's the other proxies. I thought I had them loaded. Okay, let's grab my other proxies and go. Now, the other day, I did run some Hydra. The rest of my, when I did the test on Hydra proxy the other day, I let the rest of my one-day purchase run for that evening. I let it run while I was asleep that evening, and it was interesting. It would go like maybe a page's worth of 100% successful scrapes, and then a whole lot of zeros. So I guess it burned out really quickly in a rather short period of time, and then it would basically, the IP rotated every 30 minutes with Hydra proxy, and so that option isn't really even viable, for serious scraping. It's really maybe only viable for, I guess you could maybe do that for B2C and bursts. That would be something to test. So that'd be a future video to do. So you can see here we did Google 50 results. Golly, if you guys may have seen, the speed was like 1,400 URLs per second, insanely fast. I usually do 30 results, but I did a scrape earlier to do 50, so I guess we'll just do this at 50. Let's exit to main. I'm really impressed with how fast that was. So we got 35K results. It already removed duplicates. Let's sort this by A to Z. Let's remove entries which are not URLs, when host is an IP, and URLs with extensions. Fairly clean. Let's export this. Restaurants, 1K, cities, 50R, actually it should be 50R, 50R, 1KC, 50 results, 1KC, and then let's do USA, Google, scrubbed URLs, or URL, yeah, it's just scrubbed URLs, yeah, and save that here. Should come up here. Okay, so let's clear that out, and let's do Bing. Yahoo has been throwing some partial results in the last couple of days, which I guess means that you guys have been following my advice and burning them out, I suppose. Not to be pretentious, but it's unfortunate. I was seeing 100%, and then I was seeing partial results, and I think it maybe partially depends on the term you use, because I did try some other terms and saw some different, some more success. So, okay, let's go to do Bing now. And as you can see, results are getting scraped. Really cool. Only 125 threads, and that's about half the speed that we were seeing on Google, which I guess just means that it's faster to access Google's pages. Looks like the speed is increasing a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these two lists and we're going to look at the total number, and then hopefully we can find some kind of tool that will allow us to compare the URLs. I know there's some HTML tools that do that, but they typically are like par for par, position for position to my knowledge. So we need to find something that just is able to see the whole list and just determine whether or not they generally have duplicates. Perfect. Awesome. So let's exit this one to main. That crunches down a little bit less, interestingly enough, which means that it had more corporate results, ranking repeatedly. So let's go ahead and do our cleaning. Excuse me. And remove URL, remove entries which are not URLs, IPs, extensions. Oh, that had a little bit of extension. Let's export this and let's see, restaurants. And this one will be Bing. Okay. Now I was looking looked at the add-ons a little bit. I don't think there's any kind of add-on that would let us do that. And this is the biggest problem with scrapebox is the lack of data handling tools. There's obviously things over here. Excuse me, but and then there's also like the scrapebox text editor and the text file tools, which can be useful. But to me, this is the biggest thing that scrapebox is missing is more sophisticated data handling tools. So it would be nice if I feel like I've seen a compare tool. Give me just one moment and then I'll pause it and I'll skip ahead until I can find something to list tool. Let me check here one more time. All right, let me skip ahead until I find something. Actually, so what I did is I went ahead and I combined the lists just to get an idea of what duplicates, what the difference would be. So we got 29K, 29.6K for the Bing sample. And then we've got, let's see, 35.8K for the Google sample. And that would I would guess that would burn out a little bit more quickly. It's a 1-minute IP rotation at minimum on proxies.com. But it could be that eventually the subnets would get banned or something like that. But I just kind of wanted to take this opportunity to do a little bit of a case study. So, okay, so we had 35.6K, right? Let's see. 35.8K versus 29.4K. So I'm going to drop this in here. So we got 65. Let me just put this over here. 65,457. Removing duplicate URLs. That's funny. That number, I thought that number was maybe different than what I saw a second ago. 556. So you're looking at roughly 4K there. Roughly 4K duplicates, URLs that are the same, which is really quite surprising because that's a lot of URLs. And to only have 4K, let me grab my calculator. I need to just have put my calculator on my VPS, do this all the time. So 4K between them would be something like this, I suppose. Is this how you do it? 4K divided by roughly 30K. Yeah. 13% of the Google sample divided by roughly 35,000. 13% of the, or sorry, 13% of the Bing sample and 11% of the Google sample were duplicate, which is pretty surprising. Over, who can say over a much bigger sample, it could maybe be different, but I feel like I've tested this in the past and it was not such a severe discrepancy. Basically meaning that they're both actually providing unique data, which is interesting. Now, which one is superior? I'm sure it's going to be Google to some degree, but it's hard to say what the margin is, and certainly difficult in terms of well, maybe not difficult, but the ease of access for Yahoo and Bing, of course, outweigh Google. But we'll see how long Google lasts. I'm going to be using it sparingly, but let's also do a test on the number of emails that we're able to scrape from their unique samples. So I'm going to throw this in here, and I'm going to throw this over here, and the email scrapes are not severe on the CPU as the harvester acquisition of the URLs. So let's go ahead and run this. Let me clear these out. I've still got my proxy scrape proxies here, which is still good to go for scraping the emails from the regular sites. Excuse me. But I'm still kind of on the lookout for something that can give me 100% of the metadata from my data center proxies. So let's go ahead and grab these emails. And is there anything in here? No. Let's go ahead and do this one. Make sure it's empty. Settings should be the same. And go. And go. You check my CPU. Yeah, it should be sitting at looks like it's stabilizing a little bit. So pretty similar. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the end so that you guys can see the comparison. Okay, so let's take a look at the results. Google Scrape went through 35K URLs and collected 5,800 emails. The Bing Scrape went through 2,900 URLs, 4K fewer, and collected about twice as many, which is really something. Keep in mind that it's going to be niche to niche, but and it's also only 1,000 locations, in the sample we're dealing with. If we were dealing with 200K URLs, which is about average for what I deal with on a full scrape, it would probably be a very different composition, but we're just going to go with this because I was able to do it somewhat quickly. Let's skim through here. I'm curious to see the directories. So we got Zomato, timeouts, Z menu. Looks like there were some scrapes there. Yelp, YouTube, Yellow Pages. Wow, it's amazing that there's no email scraped from the Yellow Pages listings. They're usually right there. Oh, you know what? Those are probably categorical pages. They have to be business pages to get data. And let's see, TripAdvisor. Quite a bit of TripAdvisor. Some of them had emails on page, which is interesting. Is that a reviews for certain places? Okay. TripAdvisor Canada, Super Pages, restaurants.com, open table, some menu sites, some Facebook pages, Chili's, TripAdvisor again, what's that? Info Explorer. And now let's take a look at the Google scrape. So Zomato, Yelp, Visit Ben, Uber Eats, TripAdvisor, restaurants near, and then I think this one was restaurant review. There's some restaurants near. Restaurants near, then just restaurants in a particular location. Those all have 0. Then UK, restaurants in the UK. Oh, that's surprising. More UK, a lot of UK. The Infatuation. Restaurant G, Open Table. Open Table UK. Happy Cow. Facebook. Bring Fido. Culture Trip. Mobile Yelp. Huh. That's interesting. The mobile Yelp ranking for these searches, that's kind of strange. Wow, so apparently there's just a ton of the wrong kind of Yelp listings ranking, and then for Google, including a large sample from the UK, which is strange. But it does look like, restaurant review from the UK for an American location. So that's just a strange indexation choice. Whereas over here, it seems like there was actually no yellow pages over here, which is surprising. But it seems like these were just like the right kind of listings, restaurant review, that was getting emails from those pages. And then this is also a good opportunity, guys. It's also a good idea to do a cursory scrape in the search engine, because you can learn a lot about directories. Like, you can do a data pivot table. If you do a search on my YouTube channel, you can, there's a video somewhere on how to do a data pivot table on domains, so that you can see the repetitions of domains, and you can count. You can see basically the directories that rank with the highest number of repetitions, and you can. It's especially a good idea to do the data pivot table on the domains from the emails that you scrape via a sample, because then you can actually tell which ones you can scrape from. I'm not sure. Well, I guess the Yellow Pages ones didn't come through because they were categorical. They weren't actual listings on Yellow Pages, because the listings on Yellow Pages do have emails. But really cool to see, there's some TripAdvisor pages that data center proxies can access and apparently can pull emails from. That's really cool. So that's that kind of thing. You're using a data pivot table and looking at these repetitions is a really easy way to kind of see which directories you might be able to access, and then maybe do a custom scrape on a specific directory for your topic, which I think is really kind of, you can do that with any of the search engines, whether it's Yahoo, Bing, or Google. And then here's some Facebook pages, which is really cool. I saw some Facebook pages over here, but not nearly as many as we see here from Bing. So really interesting, but it's not quite over yet, because once we scrub for duplicates, it'll adjust. So let's export, or let's not export. Let's grab the data folder and plop here's our Google sample right here, and let's put it right there. And then let's close this. Do I want to close this right now? Oopsie. Let me blow this up. Do I want to make a note? No, I don't need to make a note. It's like 5,800 emails here and about twice that number over here. So it's good enough to remember. And I'll put these down here. So Google at the top, Bing at the bottom. Close all these. And we will clean the data a little bit so we can kind of see. Let's drag the Googles here. Let's remove these duplicates. Huh. Well, we'll get to the end of the road and see how it goes. I'm going to also remove URLs containing example.com. Remove URLs containing email.com. Actually, I just remove URLs containing example. And let's go ahead and sort this. And then some centuries. Let's export this as, let's see. Let's do this, URLs and emails. Hopefully I picked the right one there. I wasn't really paying attention all that well. Yeah. So then we're going to edit this with Notepad++, change the encoding to ANSI so that we can scrub out these question weird symbols. Replace all those. And then we're going to replace the piping with space semicolon, and then close it and save it, and then drop it back into this area to scrub it. So then it's scrubbed down to 5,700. And let's see, let's go back into URLs and emails. Excuse me. And let's do the same thing with the Bing results. We don't need to do it over here, but just figure I'll do it anyways. Let's remove all these. And let's see. Bing scrape and emails. Save those. We're going to do the same thing here. I usually do it this way, but sometimes you probably saw there's like 2 files it comes with. So let's see, all with dupes. This one probably doesn't have all that. That's 10K. What happens if we change the encoding? Yeah, no glitches. So you can technically save the one that doesn't have, you can just use this one instead of this one with dupes, but it doesn't always propagate. So I'm kind of in the habit of just throwing them in there and cleaning it myself, because I don't want to leave it undone if I'm just assuming that it's clean, and then I learn that it's not. So that's kind of why I'm in the habit of doing it like this, because there are inconsistencies sometimes with scrapebox when it comes to data cleaning, which is something, like I said earlier, is just like the biggest problem that really needs to be addressed, and probably will not be. So it's best to just have our own process and clean the files ourselves. There we go. And let's also remove URLs containing example and email.com. Let me sort this. Okay. Export this to here. All right. So now we've got those two. Let's copy these over to my email cleaning server. And let me drop this. Let's throw this in here. And what's this? Just one moment. Thought that I did this already. Let's delete this. Okay, let's throw this in here. Gosh, I really do not like it when it does that. Sometimes you put the files on the desktop and it just like sloshes them all over the place. All right. So we got our Bing on the right and our Google on the left. Should be formatted email first. So this is also a good place to scrub by the email column. You can do that in a spreadsheet, handling program like Excel. You can just scrub by the email column, but you can also do it here in Atomic. So I'll just delete duplicates, and it'll always delete by the first just the emails, all the rows. It'll take the email duplicates and delete all the rows based on the duplicates in the email column. So that's scrubbed from 5700 to 3800. Let's see what happens here. Let's delete these. So that one went from 10K to 7300. And just out of curiosity, let's open up another instance and combine them both. Just kind of wanted to see. $9,700. So this was 10K, roughly 11K. So apparently there was like 2K worth of emails shared. But I don't really need to verify these separately. I was just kind of curious. But it does seem that, let's see. It does seem that the Bing sample was superior. There's a lot of chilies there. I'm just kind of trying to get a glance at some of these entries. There's a user review. I wonder, those might be people leaving reviews. I wonder if those are people leaving reviews. Here, let me see. User review, display info. Huh. Those might just be people leaving reviews. So that's interesting. And over here, let's see. Chili's. A lot of small businesses, which is preferable. Oh, nice. A lot of general info. Some folks, they don't want that general contact, but obsessed with decision makers, which really kind of makes no sense. That for some reason you think your promo is going to be more well received by someone who absolutely hates spam, but or is likely to hate spam just as much or not more than the gatekeeper. But I'll take them all, right? But wow, it looks like it kind of seems like more small business emails. Let's let's scrub by. It's kind of late. Wonder if we can even. Let's go back and let's take the URLs and scrub by. Let's trim to root and scrub duplicates. Wow. 20 from 35K to 2,700. Let's trim this to root. Remove duplicates. Wow. So this one had a lot more URLs on the whole, but a lot fewer unique domains. This one had twice as many, and it subsequently had twice as many emails yielded. And this is also excluding contact page scrapes, of course, contact page guesses. So I think that's pretty interesting. Google is definitely favoring those directories, which can be good. Like if you were to go, to tier 2, for example, if the restaurant was on those directory pages, you might get more from Google. But it's kind of cool to see that Bing is giving more at that tier 1 scrape at face value, and you would get the same thing from Bing at a tier 2, scrape for links. You would get more, a lot more small business opportunities. But that's interesting to see. Some of them were clearly on those URLs, but it's kind of interesting that it mirrors the domains there, the unique domains. But just out of curiosity, let me close this. I usually like to do 2 instances. Let me just combine these. Well, should I do them independently? That would be interesting to see which ones are more valid. Let's do them independently, because then we can kind of just really be thorough about it. Wait a couple seconds. And let's skip ahead to the result. Okay, so we've got, let's see, roughly 50-50 ratios here. Pretty similar, actually. Looks like Bing was a little bit higher in terms of validity. So, guess that's pretty much it. Kind of concludes the case study between Bing and scraping with Bing, or scraping with proxy.com IPv6 rotators against Bing and also against Google. Let's see here. We scraped tier 1 URLs, 1 keyword, 50 results, 1,000 cities for Bing and Google. And then we scraped the emails. Google had about 4K greater URLs, but about half as many unique domains as Bing. Bing yielded about twice as many emails, 10K versus about 5,700 over on Google. And then in terms of verification, we are seeing that, let's see, it's about 50-50. So pretty interesting. In terms of substance, it really does seem like Bing had more unique restaurants in their sample because of the unique domains that we saw. Some of that sample could be because of the TripAdvisor entities, but I didn't really see those as much over here as I saw them over here. So it's kind of hard to say. Oh, there they are. Reservation, or no, not reservations. We did see some good info emails, but anywho, that's pretty much it. It looks like Bing in this particular sample with this particular niche and this particular, region that we were targeting offered a greater yield than Google, which I think is really something. But still, you might want to scrape Google at some scale to get ideas for directories to scrape for a particular niche, or just really go on Google if you can. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, and same thing with Bing. It's really cool that we can do Bing now also because been kind of getting inconsistent results with Yahoo. Like first it was perfect, and then this past week, and then it was like kind of 50%. So we'll see how that goes. I also ran a test against Yandex, and Yandex can go to a certain degree, and then it'll freeze because they have like a really hard wall. That they have like a captcha or something, and which Google has something like that also. So it's a little surprising that we're able to go so far so quickly with Google somewhat easily in this particular case study. And excuse me. I think though the key is probably going to be to use search engine results to scrape a particular niche, and then in the future to then like try to focus on the more specifically topical directories where we can have free reign. I think that's kind of the more sustainable goal for the long run. But I still am I'm kind of back to running a little some orders uh, just strictly on the search engine, especially for the more obscure niches, and it's been going just fine. So but that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate your time. And if you have any requests for a topic, then just let me know. I'll try to cover things if they're within reason and something I feel like I can comment on. But I will catch you guys later. Thanks. Bye bye.